you so much for your interest in our program and in coming to this session. I'm just going to go right through this, and I guess Alyssa, you'll be able to send the PowerPoint to anybody who's interested, right?
Yeah, so they can, I'll put the Pi Center email in the chat. So if anybody would like the presentation sent their way, I'm more than they can email us, and I'd be more than happy to share it with them.
Okay. So I am Mickey Friedlander. I am the training director, the doctoral training director in the counseling psychology PhD program, which is part of the larger division of counseling psychology. We also have a master's in mental health counseling, which is an 18-month terminal master's. Does not go from the master's to the doctorate. So this is a separate program. And you communicated with Alyssa Yusko, who is in our Pi Center, Pathways into Education. So you've already found her. So I'm going to do a fairly brief overview and then answer the questions that people submitted and any questions that come up. So please, raise your hand digitally if you have any questions. I guess I see 3 people besides you, Alyssa, is that right? Oh, participants, no, there's 9 participants.
Yeah, so you have to, like, over on the corner, there's like a little arrow at the bottom if you wanted to see more people. But once you are done with the PowerPoint and you're not sharing, then they'll all show up.
Yes, okay, fine, that's great. So there's 9 people, wonderful. So I have to do it that way, okay. Congratulations for choosing counseling psychology. You could have chosen any field, and you could have certainly chosen any field within psychology and any field within applied psychology. But I think, and I'll speak for the faculty, that we really think that our field, which is smaller than clinical psychology, but older in probably most respects than clinical psychology. It is a wonderful choice. And if you want me to speak more to how it's different from clinical, I'd be happy to do that later. So why train? So obviously to enrich other people's lives through clinical work as well as research. So a big part of our program is social justice. And we have a social justice lens in all of our courses and in our mission. So social justice can be evident not only in your clinical practice, but also in your scholarship. And one of the things that's wonderful about applied psychology is that you can do so many different things. And our students love the various roles that they get to play as students in our program. They obviously train to be a psychotherapist, and they do assessments, to be a researcher, but also they have an opportunity to do some consulting, supervising, and teaching. And all of those things that could change over the course of your career as your interests change, but you'll get a taste of all of them. We really focus on self-reflection and self-awareness because as a therapist, you are the instrument of cure, so to speak. I mean, it's not like a dentist that has all kinds of instruments. You are the instrument. You are the person who, through your personality and your relationship with your clients, is what moves them toward mental health, a greater mental health. So it's very important for you to know yourself, and particularly to know how your personal background and your cultural identity forms who you are and how you relate to your clients. So personal self-awareness is a big part of our program in our supervision and even in our coursework. And by becoming a counseling psychologist, you join a very vibrant professional community. As I said, it's much smaller than clinical psychology, but people know each other all over the nation and also internationally. So it's not as anonymous as clinical psychology is, in my view, anyway. So our particular program has been continuously accredited by the American Psychological Association since 1980. So that means that there are very rigorous standards of coursework and what students have to demonstrate clinically and in terms of research in order to be considered worthy of a PhD from an accredited program. You don't want to go to a program that's not accredited because you will not be able to be licensed as a psychologist, and you won't be able to call yourself a psychologist legally. So the PhD enables you to pursue a professional career and become licensed. Our training is an integration of science and practice, and we see ourselves as training you in both, a sort of 50-50. There's different training models that are accredited by the APA. There's a clinical scientist, practitioner, scholar, scholar practitioner, but the oldest one and the most traditional one is what we are, scientist practitioner. So in our program, you gain skills and knowledge, obviously, about psychotherapy, also about assessment, and as I said earlier, about teaching. You have the opportunity to teach undergraduates and potentially teach our master students once you get more experience, supervision, and consultation. So I mentioned already the scientist practitioner model. We focus on strengths and normative human development, and that is one of the things that distinguishes us from clinical psychology traditionally. So traditionally, counseling psychology is less focused on the medical model, less focused on diagnoses. It's very interesting and sometimes a little bit confusing, the difference between the two specialties. Basically, the training and the philosophy is somewhat different. But once you become licensed as a psychologist, counseling psychologists and clinical psychologists work in the same kinds of places. So counseling psychologists very often work in college counseling centers, but clinical psychologists also do that. Clinical psychologists very often work in hospitals and VA hospitals and medical schools, but counseling psychologists, including our students, do that. Our students have become neuropsychologists, child neuropsychologists, forensic psychologists, just like clinical psychologists. So it's more different in the training and the outlook, the philosophy, than actually what it allows you to do. One of the things that's traditionally been part of our field is a focus on contextual factors. In other words, the fit between a person and the environment that they find themselves in. Valuing diversity is a huge part of counseling psychology, probably more so than clinical, but that's my view. You would have to ask clinical psychologists to see if they would agree. Individual and cultural diversity, working with a wide range of populations. And our training is sequential and comprehensive, and it's developmental. So in your first year as a PhD student, you're just beginning to learn interviewing and counseling skills. And then you go into your first practicum, which is supervised by our faculty down at our training clinic. And then you go out into the field and practice locally, like in a hospital or a college counseling center, or even in a private practice. And then you go on to your full year internship, which is the culmination, the clinical realm. And in terms of research, it starts out very similarly, developmentally, where we have you in a mentorship model with our faculty doing research as part of a research team. And the coursework starts off with research design, basic statistics, going up to much more complex statistics, and culminating, of course, in the dissertation. Components of our program, it's 81 credits. The credit number, don't get focused on the credit number, because students often take much more than that, because they take more practica experiences than is actually literally required by the program. So the coursework, there's a professional core in counseling psychology, which is assessment and psychotherapy and supervision and consultation. There's a section on statistics and research design and measurement. And then all APA programs have coursework in psychological foundations. So the history and systems of psychology, social psychology, psychopathology, cognitive psychology, developmental psychology, social psychology, and biopsychology. You'll find that in all APA accredited programs. The practicum, where you're actually seeing clients doing therapy or assessment. As I said, the credits are a minimum of 18, but you really can't take only 18 credits and expect to be competitive for an internship nationally. So our students basically have a minimum of 3 full years of practicum experience. Of course, it's part-time. We have Psychological Services Center, which is community-based. It's fee-for-services in downtown Albany. So we have community clients who are very diverse. That's what you do in your second year. And then, as I said, you can go out and work in different field placements in your third, fourth, and if you stay around for a 5th year before internship. The internship has to be 2,000 hours and accredited by the American Psychological Association. You would engage in professional development and scholarly work. As I mentioned before, there is a doctoral qualifying exam, which students usually take at the end of their 3rd year, but anyone coming in with a master's degree might want to take it earlier. There's a research tool requirement, so some way you have to demonstrate readiness for your dissertation through advanced coursework that's related to your dissertation or some other kind of research tool. There are 2 milestones that our students need to complete before they graduate. They need to present at a national or regional or local conference, present a paper or a poster, and they need to submit an empirical article, meaning an article based on data, to a refereed journal. Does not have to be accepted, but it needs to be submitted. And the dissertation, which is original research. Why our program? Well, I'm just going to pause now to turn on the light in behind me because it's getting dark here. Several times throughout the history of our program since 1980, different scholars in counseling psychology have looked at a variety of metrics and tried to rate the quality of different counseling psychology programs. And several times we've been rated in the top 5. I don't think anyone has done a rating in a number of years, but we're very highly regarded nationally. Our faculty do a lot of work internationally. We travel abroad for conferences, and we have international collaborators on our research. We have a high rate of program completion and attainment of licensure. So very few people drop out or are not do not feel that they can complete the program. Very rare. We take a lot of put a lot of effort into students that we admit and want them to be successful. And about 96% of our students, our former students, are licensed in many states across the country. Actually, the few people that are not licensed are because they're working in some aspect of psychology that does not require them to practice psychology. So they might be in administration or policy. One of them I know works for the Department of Labor doing work-related research and administration. So, but people do get licensed. In terms of funding, most of our students are funded for 4 years of full-time study. We cannot guarantee it. We're a state university and state funded. So there's no way to guarantee the funding from year to year, but I've been here for 40 years. And I have to say that, you know, it's been rare that a student hasn't gotten funded. So in terms of where people work when they graduate, I've listed them: clinical settings, research, teaching, college counseling centers, medical schools, VAs, private practice. You have an opportunity if you have graduate work, not undergraduate work, but graduate work, such as a master's degree from an accredited university. If the coursework is comparable to ours, you can apply for advanced standing credit up to 30 credits. It's rare for people to get 30 credits. We really want to train you in our program. So we do, but typically it's somewhere between 12 and 21 credits, depending on what coursework you've taken at the master's level. Other reasons, we are very invested in collaborating with students. All of our faculty have research teams. We work on articles and conference presentations. We go to conferences with students and introduce students to other big name people in the field. As I said before, we have a strong focus on social justice. One thing that we're very proud of is that every year we put on a diversity conference that brings in local people and has keynote speakers who are big name folks in different aspects of social justice. There's a wide latitude to conduct research in many different areas of psychology, as long as there is a faculty member with expertise that can mentor you. A large variety of clinical settings for practicum training. We have, small college counseling centers. We have our own counseling center, which is one. Excuse me. We have a medical school, a VA hospital, private practice. We have so many different clinical settings, and I will try to find a setting if you are interested in one that is not a typical one. So in the past, I've helped people find a practicum, a field practicum, for example, in the county jail. Our students have a high rate of obtaining an AP accredited internship. Every year we beat the national statistics in terms of the percentage of our students who are matched. I mentioned the diversity conference. If you come in at the undergraduate level, you can obtain a master's in counseling psychology along the way by the end of your third year, basically by taking the required coursework and doing a case conceptualization, research-based conceptualization of a client. And that doesn't give you a master's that allows you to practice at the master's level. That you would need to do a mental health counseling master's degree. But this gives you a master's degree because a lot of places where you might look for a job in the summer, for example, or on an internship, because of their funding, they want people that have a master's degree, but they don't have to be licensed at the master's level. We also collaborate with the School of Public Health and the Social Welfare School to offer a health disparities certificate for 12 credits. So 3 of those credits are required anyway in our program. If you take 9 specific other credits, you can get a separate health disparities certificate. If you are fluent in Spanish, you can go and visit or participate with my colleague in Spain. It's in Ferrol, Galicia in Spain, which is right on the northwest corner of Spain, right on the Atlantic Ocean. Beautiful setting. And I collaborate with the co-director on research and family therapy, and our students are can go and join their postgraduate program. You can go for a month, you can go for a year, you can go for 6 months, free of charge. I mean, you have to pay for your travel and your lodging, but it's free to attend the program. So those are some of the specialties that we offer, special things that we offer. Great support. Our faculty and our students are very cohesive. Our students work together. We have them working on projects and collaborating. We pride ourselves that we do not foster competition. We try to be transparent about opportunities that might be limited. Our faculty have a range of specializations. All of us are active researchers, national leaders, and a few of us have private practice as well. So if you're admitted, you'll have an advisor that serves as a mentor that guides you through the program, helps you select your courses, develop your research interests, introduce you to people, and help you pursue your individual professional pathway. The group of doctoral students is very cohesive and welcoming. We have a buddy system so that when we have a new cohort of students coming in the fall, we assign them to a student who's already here to be a buddy, that you can ask your buddy anything you want about housing and about coursework and about relating to faculty, and just somebody who can be your point person, who's a peer. And the university has a lot of support services for students. Relationships with faculty tend to be great. This is, well, we used to have a very detailed website, but the university a few years ago decided that all the websites need to look the same, and they cut out a lot of the things that we had put on them. And one of the things that we had on there were a lot of quotes, testimonials actually, from former students. And this was something that one of them who graduated maybe 20 years ago had to say. So you can read it on your own. This was someone who, actually she's now retired. She must have been here like 25 years ago and pursued health psychology. Where do our students get employed? This is just a list of some of the places that came to mind when I developed this PowerPoint. Harvard's Counseling Center, Lehigh University's Teaching and Counseling Center. We had students in the LA Sheriff's Department as an advisor to police, VA hospitals, Mount Sinai in New York, the National VA Trauma Center in Honolulu, New York Psychiatric Institute in Northampton, the Pioneer Valley Mental Health Clinic, Counseling Center at University of Florida, Yale School of Medicine, University of Rochester, and right here, Albany Medical Center. So what about how to apply? Everyone enters the program in the fall semester. We don't have rolling admissions. We have a cohort that we admit. Probably this year we will admit 6 students. The most we've done in recent years is 8 students. You also apply to be a graduate assistant, but all of our students are funded. I think in the whole history of the program, we've only had 1 student that paid their own way. Application requirements, all schools attended. So if you attended a community college or you took a few courses here and there, you need to submit all of your transcripts. At least 3 letters of recommendations, preferably from faculty and research supervisors. Don't send a letter from your therapist or from a family friend. We want to know how you are academically and in terms of previous research. If you've had some kind of a counseling-like job, like you worked on a hotline or you worked at a summer camp, you might think of asking those people for a reference. But really, we're primarily looking for faculty that know you really well from your former school and anybody that you did research with. A statement of goals, that's your personal statement. We want to know, it says 1 page, people don't stick to that. Basically, we want to know who you are, what attracted you to this field, and what are your long-term goals, and who do you want to work with on our faculty. So you can look at our website and see faculty interests and name at least 1 faculty member who you think your interests will fit with. And then if you're chosen for an interview, we'll have you interview with that person or several people. We do require GE scores, GRE scores. We don't require the psychology test, although if you take it, we'd be happy to look at your score, so send it along, but it's not required. You must have 18 credits of undergraduate psychology. So very often we've had people that were not psychology majors, and some people who got a degree in a whole different field, like in business or in, I don't know what, computing or social work or English. We've had people that had all kinds of undergraduate degrees and have had to go back and get undergraduate credits before applying to the program. So that's because you really need to know undergraduate psychology in order to do graduate level psychology. It's kind of obvious that you don't want to enter a field that you know very little about because it's a huge commitment. So you must take a 3-credit course in statistics. It need not be in the psychology department. It could be in sociology or in the math department, but it needs to be statistics and either abnormal psychology or personality. You do not have to have a major in psychology, only 18 credits. You don't have to minor in psychology. I don't know, Melissa, I guess you could answer this if there's still at-home test-taking options, but I don't really know about that. More information is our webpage, and the program page, the graduate bulletin. I'm the person to contact, the graduate school or Alyssa in the PI Center. Alyssa, do you want to say a little bit about your office?
Yeah, so I just put your email address in the chat. But yeah, our office is a
No,
great
I thought
place
it was, yeah, my email is right here.
It is, but they can't copy and paste that if they
Oh,
wanted
that's
to
right.
save it.
Okay.
So I wanted to just give that to them so they have it.
Sure.
Yeah, so our office is a great place to start. I think Dr. Friedlander is the expert. But if you have some general questions, maybe something more to do with your application or you know, a quick question that you want answered, we're a great place to start. If we can't answer your question, we'll probably forward you on to Dr. Friedlander or someone else who might be able to answer your question, but we're sort of like a great one-stop shop for the School of Education. So we have virtual Zoom hours. So if you prefer to have a conversation with someone, we have several hours offered Monday through Friday, and you can just go to our website, click the link to join, and you'd be able to chat with someone right then and there.
Great. So I think the next slide is the questions that people submitted. So I just would love to know a little bit about each of you. If you could just say like who you are. Like I'll just go in the order that I have here. And
you know, if you don't,
go ahead.
that if you don't like research, you know, to look towards a master's degree. Is it because research is such an integral part of the
Yes.
obviously of all PhD programs?
Yeah.
Not necessarily that you'd want to be a researcher.
Right.
Right?
Actually, you know, surveys of our alumni, you know, a lot of them stay involved in research, but most of them go into clinical jobs. Or I would say at least 25% of them continue to teach, either at the undergraduate or the graduate level. But yes, you would be really unhappy because you'd be expected to read a great deal of research and do a great deal of research.
Right.
Yeah, and so sometimes people think they have really wonderful credentials, and they do, but they don't fit with what our faculty do, and so we don't invite them for an interview because of what they've written about their research interests. If there's nobody that can mentor you in your research interest, then we're not really a good fit. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you.
You might be a good fit in terms of you know, a clinical interest of someone, you know, but not to do research, because and it doesn't mean that you have to have done research exactly in the area that we realize that even at the master's level or at the undergraduate level, you're kind of limited to helping the faculty that are at the school that you're at. You know, I mean, it's like you can't just sort of go and say, hey, I want to study human-animal interaction. And say, well, go enjoy yourself, but there's nobody that can help you with that. And that's the same way that we feel. So sometimes I get those questions of like, wow, I have great GRE scores and great GPA and great references. Why didn't you want to interview me? I'm like, you didn't say you wanted to do anything that we offer. So we thought that it wasn't a good fit.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Yes, Larissa. Oh, no?
Oh, I had a question. Angie started talking too.
You can go ahead.
All right, thank you. I was wondering, you said that it's expected to come in with some research experience, and I completely understand that. Are there other responsibilities or skill sets that are advantageous or expected of incoming students?
Most of our students have done some sort of helping something, you know, along the way, even maybe even in high school, you know, like being a summer camp counselor or a Girl Scout leader, or very often working on a hotline like a suicide hotline or an undergraduate hotline, or being an RA in a dorm, it's helpful to know that you really know what it means to be helping somebody with some kind of problem, even if it's not a mental health problem. But that wouldn't stop somebody from being admitted if everything else aligned. We don't expect people coming
you.
from the undergraduate like you would be, Carissa, to have done counseling because you wouldn't have been trained.
Thanks.
My question was, if we see that there's a faculty member that we're really interested in working with, but maybe not necessarily sure, like I'm looking for more information on what exactly kind of processes I would be doing research on, would you recommend reaching out to the faculty member directly? Because I know that they might be busy with a lot of emails, or is there another point person to reach out to?
Yeah, you can write to the faculty member and give them a little bit of your background. I mean, I wouldn't ask them to read pages and pages of an email, but a synopsis, and maybe put your resume on there and say what aspect of their research you're interested in, and indicate that you've read some of their publications. So we didn't really have space on our website to put the entire CV of all of our faculty. Some are very lengthy. So I think the best way to do it is to go to Google Scholar and put the person's name in there, and you'll see everything they've written. And that gives you an idea. And you could say, well, I was very interested in your work on X, Y, and Z. Yeah, but yeah, certainly reach out. If they're too busy, they won't answer, but
Yeah. Okay,
Askuti, are you raising your hand? Is that what that looks like?
Yes.
Yes.
I want to ask, like, how many PhD students do you accept per academic section, and what is the total number of population that normally apply to PhD program in counseling psychology in your department?
In our program, typically we have somewhere about 100. I think the highest we've ever had is about 130, but in recent years it's been about 100. And we take in 6 to 8 every year.
38?
7 or 8.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, PhD work is very intensive, so it's not a large class. If you come in right from the undergraduate institution, then you would take classes with our master's students for the first year, first semester anyway, as well as ones with your cohort of doctoral students. Some courses are shared with master's students, and but generally each cohort, meaning each group of students that enters in a given year, is 6 to 8, and I think that will be closer to 6 this year.
Yeah, I have one more question. Is evaluation required for international students?
What do you mean evaluation?
Evaluation of transcript.
Oh, yes, all transcripts for everybody. Yeah. Yes, we want to see what your previous academic record is.
Oh, I mean evaluation. For example, some university do require WES evaluation during comparison for students who have his degree from another country, and then they will need to compare it. So that's what I want to know.
Yes, and if it's in a different language, it needs to be translated so that we can see what it is. I think that you might, maybe Alyssa, you could direct him to.
Yeah, I
JCK.
believe the graduate school does the transcript sort of what am I trying to say? Like translation and takes care of that. So I'm gonna put the email address for the graduate school if you had questions about what that process looks like and how that might work.
Well,
Okay, thank you. Well, I want to thank all of you for your attention, and now that I've seen you and know your names, I will look forward to reading your application if you decide to apply.
Claire, did you get to ask your question? Do you?
No.
Yeah, she has. That's like the hand raise thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
If we're interested in multiple faculty members and we're embedding that in our statement of purpose, is there a secondary place on the application that we should state
No.
that?
In your goals, I would suggest that you put them in order of preference. You don't have to say that, but you know, that's the way we'll read it, that the first person is the one that you're most interested in. But yeah, some people put up to 3. Don't put more than 3, you know. Yeah, just say which people you feel that you fit most closely with.
And then throughout the program, is there opportunities to do research with multiple?
Yeah, particularly students that are really very interested in an academic job. We encourage you to join multiple research teams. You know, some kind of research projects take longer than others. So the ones that I'll do on psychotherapy, for example, take a long time, you know, and so you might have fewer publications by the time you graduate than someone who is doing questionnaire-based research. So yeah, and also one of the things that I think is a big strength of our program is we are not territorial about our students. So we will match you up, you know, you'll interview with the people that you say that you're interested in working with, and then faculty will decide who they want to work with, and that will be your advisor. But if it turns out that you gravitate toward the research of another faculty member, which maybe you won't know anything about right now, you can do your dissertation with them, and we don't, our feelings don't get hurt. You know, you know, I've had students that have worked with other faculty and then come over to my research team and done a dissertation with me, and vice versa. Then I've had students who get really close to a faculty member from a course and they join their research team and wind up doing research. And you know, I don't love them any the less. You know, we just we realize that what you say on your application that you're interested in is quite likely to change. You know, because you're exposed to so many different things. So yeah, we encourage you to take time. And actually what we do is you're given a 20-hour assistantship, but you work with your faculty member only for 10 hours that are required, and the other 10 hours gives you a chance to either get more involved in that person's research or do your own research or go to visit another research team. It gives you time to go to colloquia and conferences, and also we realize, you know, moving and coming to a new place, you need some time to acclimate. So we don't say you have to work 20 hours, you know, 10 hours is expected, and the other 10 hours, you figure it out. So Egby, you had a question?
Yeah. So what does an interview day look like? Or is it like we attend like multiple sessions throughout 1 week?
I'm sorry, I had trouble hearing you. What does a typical day look like? Is that what you said?
Interview day.
Interview process.
Oh, the
Yeah,
interview process. Yes, so applications are due December 1st, and we go through them, and usually by before Christmas, if at all possible, or the winter break, we notify the top group that we would like to interview them. And we are doing virtual interviewing. We have found that even though it's wonderful to have people in person, we realize the expense involved and also the difficulty of traveling in the winter. So we will do virtual interviews of the top group that come out of the first round of deliberations by the admissions faculty. And then if you're invited for an interview, it's usually starts around 8:30 in the morning with, I'll give you an overview, which you've already heard an overview, but you hear the overview again. And then meet in small groups or individually with faculty. And then, yeah, usually the evening before, there's a sort of a social gathering with our doctoral students. So that would be virtual, where you would have a chance to meet students and talk to students who work with different faculty and get the student perspective. And I think what we did in the past also is lunchtime. We have, you know, the students come on their computers for lunch and have lunch while you have lunch. And then it's usually done by 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So
Thank
we
you.
tend to do it on a Friday. But we haven't decided the date yet. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.